More and more students are getting stressed out, causing a mental health crisis among young people. According to a new study by the CDC that we first reported yesterday, in 2007, more than 500,000 young people between the ages of 5 and 18 went to the emergency room for suicidal thoughts or attempts. 8 years later, in 2015, that number had doubled, more than 1 million. So how do we stop kids from succumbing to the pressure? To talk more about that is Bill McGarvey, a columnist for the Jesuit America Magazine, and he joins us now. Bill, thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to talk about this in the context of those college degrees. We talk about those educators, those school counselors that stress the importance of this coveted college degree, but is it worth the mounting pressure, this oppressive mental stress you've described?
That's a great question, Liz. Thanks for having me, Dee. I think statistic data shows that that having a college degree never hurts in terms of a child's long-term viability in the workforce, et cetera, the out-earn, et cetera, et cetera. I think the crisis becomes a question of, and I think part of my article tried to deal with this, was we're saying that we want to build kids or have kids have integrity and character and all this wonderful stuff, but the reality is that an awful lot of parents, especially middle and upper income parents, are really more obsessed with achievement, and so there's a bit of a crisis going on in terms of
and you touch upon
education.
that the living vicariously through the students,
Sure.
right? So now that you bring up the parents, let's jump to that. How do we as parents keep from adding this mounting pressure to these kids?
Difficult, because I think while we're all fascinated by when wealthy people and celebrities, maybe get caught with their hand in the cookie jar, I think we'd be missing the point if we obsess on water cooler gossip.
Okay.
I think the real issue is that in America, I think people are afraid that the middle class is shrinking, and that economic opportunities are not what they were for our grandparents and parents. And so you have these people, we see a very extreme version of parents who are obsessed with name brand designer education, designer labels or name brand labels, and in the belief that will give their child some sort of mystical uplift in life, and will get them ahead.
And how does that affect the student mentally?
Oh, I think it's all part and parcel of tremendous. Now, whether you're going to Harvard or you're going to any number of other schools, I think the pressure with the fact of not falling behind is enormous.
You also talk about how important the mission of the school is with regard to the kids, and we make the differentiation between sending a child to a private or a Catholic school versus like a Harvard or
Sure.
a different kind of school. Talk to us really quickly about that.
Yeah, I wasn't able to talk at length in the story about this, but I went to a Jesuit college, Georgetown. I do think Catholic colleges, the ones that I'm familiar with, have a very special mission in that they're specifically trying to talk about development of the human person in a more whole way. And I know the notion among Ignatian or Jesuit schools was training men and women for others. Those are great character-based values that these schools, and I think most Catholic colleges, would try to instill in their ethic and their mission. So it's important.
One more thing I want to address with you really quickly before we go is not only do they have these problems getting into the college, now they're faced with the mounting debt outside of college. They don't even have a job yet. How much of that plays into the mental capacity, the resilience of these young men and women?
It's crippling. I mean, let's face it, if I had gotten out of college with $150,000 in debt, where I wouldn't have been able to buy an apartment.
It blows you away. Yeah.
It's crushing. It's crushing the American economy in ways that young couples can't buy homes, they can't start families, et cetera. It is an issue that we are just starting to pay attention to, and I hope that people look at this as really the tip of the iceberg of a bigger issue for all of us.
I absolutely agree with that, Bill. I do hope people pay more attention to this. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention.